welcome back to another video. I've done a few of these videos in the past, so I thought why not do another one. I give my opinions on movies, certain media, and today it's not actually vampire related, which is a shock to me too. Recently I saw the movie Madame Web, and if you don't know, I'm going to enlighten you. Everyone, specifically on TikTok, is literally hating on this movie with a passion. People are saying, the acting is terrible, the effects are terrible, the story is terrible, Sony is ruining Spider-Man, properties and should just give it back to Marvel. So I decided, since everyone is so strongly opinionated on this movie, that I would go see it and see what my opinion of this movie is. Now, disclaimer, I am not a super fan. I have seen a lot of Marvel movies, but I'm not a comic reader. I have not read most of the comics that any of these characters are based on, and I don't know all the lore and the backstory of most of the characters. If it wasn't in a movie or a show, I might not know it, but I'm giving my opinion regardless because why not? Madame Web is based off a set of comics. I'm not sure how many, but they are based on comic book characters, and it bases around Madame Web. Her mother is in the jungle studying spiders, a very specific spider, very rare spider, and there's rumors that this spider has given people in the area powers. Speed, strength, sixth sense. They can climb trees, climb walls, like spider people. And she eventually finds the spider. However, her co-worker wanted the spider for himself. He shoots, the people helping her. She's like, please don't do this. He does it anyway. Shoots her, even though she is pregnant with Madame Web. These spider people show up and rescue her and have a spider bite her, hoping to save her and the child. However, they just saved the child. Her mother was in Peru because her daughter had this condition that was going to probably lead to early death. So she wanted to find this spider, see if she could synthesize its bite so that way she could save her kid. Which, of course, Madame Web did not know that until much later. Right? So the kid is saved and sent off to America, goes through the foster system, blah, blah, blah. She becomes an EMT. And during a crash on a bridge, she gets stuck in a car and falls into the water. And when she hits the water, she starts to see shit. Weird things that she can't understand. And after that, she starts to have moments where she sees the future. Usually it's only a few minutes in to the future. But she sees it and then gets brought back to reality and goes, what the hell? And it gets bad when she sees these 3 teenage girls and watches them get murdered. Multiple times. And so she tries to save them. And eventually, she feels responsible for them, even though she's not really good with kids. And then goes back to Peru to learn, what she is. She learns about the spiders. She learns about her mom and why she was there in Peru. And she learns that she doesn't have the strength, the speed, the ability to climb walls, but she has a very strong sense of the sixth sense where she can see the future, and if she practices, she can be in multiple places at the same time. So the final battle commences between the evil Spider-Man. Things are going their way, then suddenly they're not, because that's always how it goes, but they win in the end, and he dies. However, she gets hit in the face and goes blind in both eyes, and then at the very end, she's blind in a wheelchair. And she has, I think, adopted the 3 girls because they don't really have anybody. And they show glimpses of what their future holds. They're all like spider people, like Spider-Man. I don't know what their superhero names are, but, they are spider people. And that's kind of where it ends. There is no after credit scene, which is a difference to most superhero movies because, most superhero movies, they have an after credit scene. That's, the thing. It had a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 3.8 on IMDb, and a 26% on Metacritic. The audience rating summary on Google was a 2.6. Now, if you relate that to Morbius, which is a movie that also a lot of people hated upon, and I believe Sony made this too, Morbius actually did better, which is saying something because everyone hated on Morbius. Now, I have seen this movie. And my official opinion is it's not as bad as everyone is making it seem to be. Now, I am not as biased as some fans might be, because if they're a ginormous fan of the comics, they're going to tear this movie a new asshole. Right? But I am not. If you're just a movie Marvel fan, you're not a big comic reader, you might still tear it a new asshole for the fact that it's, it's made by Sony, and Sony's not really having a good record when it comes to making Marvel movies. I mean, Marvel is helping, but it's like, I don't know what they're doing. They're kind of just, they're messing things up, and they need to stop. They need to give it back to Marvel, is my personal opinion. Not saying that Marvel is, you know, getting home runs with every movie, because lately they have not been. They've been kind of doing like a this, you know, where some of their movies, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, did really well, and then you got other movies like the Marvels who didn't do as well. So, you know, they're getting hit and misses as well, but I think they're at least getting some hits. Sony, with their association with Marvel, is not getting hits, and they kind of need to stop doing whatever the hell they're doing. This movie, I'd probably rate it like a 5. Not a 1, a 2, or a 0, like most people seem to be rating this movie. It wasn't good by any means, but it's not the worst movie I have ever seen. I was able to finish it, and there were some moments throughout the movie that I actually thought were good. Like when she was seeing the future of the 3 girls and them getting murdered by evil Spider-Man. It was well filmed, and I liked the you know, flashing forward and then flashing back, and I liked that. Dakota's acting brought me out of it. She's one of those actresses that is awkward. Like, there are some actors that do it well, but I think Dakota didn't. It's not all her fault. It is the scriptwriter's fault as well. But some of the stuff that she said either didn't have to be said, or the way she said it, it was just very, like, awkward and very, like, out of place and very, like, you know? And some of the other actors in the movie I thought did a fantastic job. Like, Sydney Sweeney, I thought was one of the best parts. The 3 girls, I think, did the best they could with the script they were given. It was mostly Dakota and Evil Spider-Man that really brought me out of it. Evil Spider-Man, I think, brought me out of it the most, because he is a Frenchman. I obviously know that English ain't his first language. And so him talking, you could clearly tell that it wasn't. And it just sounded off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I didn't like his voice. Not every villain has to have the villain voice. You know, they don't all have to have the perfect voice. You know, everyone is different. It was just, his voice just kept bringing me out of it, because it sounded off. You know what I mean? And I heard that some of the lines he had to, like, voice over, specifically, you know, like when you can't see his mouth, I believe, obviously, because he has a mask on. His voice really brought me out of it. Some of Dakota's awkward acting and his voice was the main gripes I had with this movie. Some of the CGI was also clearly CGI, like when she crashed into the water, or later on when she, like, grew into her power and, like, the webs of power extended from her. That was clearly fake. And obviously it has to be with certain moments. You have to use CGI, but some of it looked quite fake. It wasn't as bad as the Flash movie. That'll never get over. I'll be traumatized for life. And if you've never seen the Flash, watch that movie and you'll agree with me. With Madam Web, it was just kind of okay overall. Like, I wouldn't choose to watch it again, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I'm scarred for life. This is the worst piece of media I have ever seen. I'll never be the same again. And I think that if they had the 3 girls, supposedly, in the future, when they get their spider powers, kill the main evil Spider-Man. I feel like if they had gotten their powers in this movie, it might have saved it a little bit, because those shots were some of my favorite. I mean, their suits looked cool. I mean, we never got to really find out what their full powers was, but they clearly, each of them had, like, a special power to themselves. So I feel like if they had gotten their powers in this movie, even if it wasn't, like, top-notch, the best superhero movie you've ever seen, I think it would have saved it for some people. But because they only showed, like, glimpses of it from the future, and that was it, I think that really brought it down, because, you know, I was waiting for it and I was hoping for it, and it never happened. We also don't know how they get their spider powers. Are they bitten by those spiders? Like, are they bitten by different spiders? You know, how do they get those powers? Obviously, if I had read the comics, I probably would know this answer, but I don't. And the movie doesn't tell you. So in my personal opinion, I would say it's probably a 4 or 5 out of 10. It's mediocre at best. It's not good, but it's not terrible. It's kind of like the middle ground, leaning toward bad. There were some moments that I actually enjoyed, like when she decided she was going to try and climb the wall. It was a little awkward, but it made me laugh. The scenes where she's seeing into the future and the 3 girls are getting attacked the 2 times, one in the train and one in the diner, I thought that was filmed really well. Where she's like, oh my god, I have to save you. I thought those shots were really cool. And when she crashed through the diner with a taxi, also pretty cool. Some of the shots I actually liked. You know, I think this could have been an interesting story, and I think it could have worked. I just think that whoever wrote the script should have changed some things or had someone look at it. Because there were some things in that script I'm like, they didn't need to say that. Why'd they say it that way, you know? And you can't blame the actors all outright. Obviously, some of it is their fault, but a lot of it is the script as well. What they're given, the directions they are given. So it's not all them. It is the writers as well, and, you know, the staff. Now, I've heard, and I'm pretty sure this is right, that some of the people that worked on Morbius worked on this movie, which was probably not a good move. Obviously, I'm a fan of Morbius. Not a giant fan, but I didn't hate that movie like a lot of other people did. So I was going to give this a chance, but I know a lot of people, the second they saw that those two made Morbius, they didn't have high hopes. So, not saying they aren't capable of making great movies, but you have a lot of work to do to fix that bias from other people. But comment down below what you guys think. If you've seen it, let me know. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite moment? What was your least favorite moment? If you are a big fan of the comics, also let me know how close it is to the comics, or if it's far-fetched, if it's not even close. I know a lot of media, based on books and stuff, can sometimes like create it to a T exact, but most of the time they like to take creative liberties. So I'd like to know how much creative liberties they may have taken. Alright guys, I will see you next week with another video. I just wanted to sit down and talk about it because I just saw Madam Web yesterday? Yes, yesterday. So it's fresh in my mind, so I thought why not talk about it. Alright guys, I'll see you later. Whoosh.